What happens when you don't just buy a mansion, you buy the entire neighborhood? Oprah Winfrey has quietly accumulated so much land in Montecito, California, that she's become the largest private landowner in the area. 70 acres, multiple estates, and over $100 million invested. But what's that successful strategy behind the empire she's been building while nobody was counting? Let's uncover it all. The Montecito Empire. What she actually owns. Let's get something straight right off the bat. Oprah doesn't own a house in Montecito. She owns what we can call an empire. A private kingdom that's grown so large over the past 2 decades that calling it real estate almost feels insulting to the scale. Now, here's what most people know. Oprah lives in California. She's rich, she has a nice place. Pretty standard, right? But here's what most people don't know. Oprah has systematically purchased property after property in Montecito, accumulating roughly 70 acres of some of the most expensive coastal land in America, creating a sprawling estate that functions less like a home and more like a self-contained world where she controls everything within sight. It started in 2001, when Oprah bought what would become known as the Promised Land, a 42-acre estate with a 23,000 square foot Neo-Georgian mansion sitting at its heart. For most billionaires, that would have been enough. Buy the estate, decorate it, live there, done. But Oprah's not most billionaires. She held that 42-acre property for 15 years, watching the surrounding land, waiting for the right opportunities. Then in December 2016, she made her move, purchasing an adjacent equestrian estate for $28.85 million. That added significant acreage, horse facilities, barns, and even more privacy, expanding her footprint in a way that started raising eyebrows among Montecito's ultra-wealthy residents. But she still wasn't done. In October 2019, Oprah acquired actor Jeff Bridges' estate, conveniently located right next to her 2016 purchase, for another $6.85 million. That 4-acre property gave her yet another house, more land, and most importantly, control. By owning adjacent parcels, she's not just accumulating square footage. She's controlling who her neighbors are, what gets built around her, and how her entire environment feels. When you add it all up, the original Promised Land, the equestrian estate, the Bridges property, and potentially other parcels she's quietly acquired, Oprah's Montecito holdings are estimated to be worth well over $100 million today, with some real estate experts suggesting the total could approach $150 million given recent coastal California appreciation. To put that in perspective, 70 acres is bigger than some California towns. It's larger than Disneyland's original park. It's the kind of landholding you'd associate with ranchers or developers, not talk show hosts. And in Montecito, one of the wealthiest zip codes in America, where tech billionaires and Hollywood royalty compete for oceanfront parcels, owning that much contiguous land makes Oprah arguably the most powerful private individual in the entire community. This isn't just luxury. This is strategy. This is empire building. And the main estate at the center of it all? That's where the real magic lives. The Promised Land, inside the main estate, nestled at the heart of Oprah's 70-acre Montecito empire, sits a breathtaking 23,000 square foot Neo-Georgian mansion that redefines what luxury looks like in California. Let me paint the picture because the details are honestly wild. The mansion itself is designed with a harmonious blend of Georgian and neoclassical styles. High ceilings, expansive rooms, intricate architectural detailing that feels timeless rather than trendy. Sunlight floods every space through oversized windows that frame captivating views of the surrounding landscapes, the Pacific Ocean in the distance, and meticulously manicured gardens that stretch in every direction. Inside, the house features 14 bathrooms, 10 fireplaces, 2 private home theaters, a gourmet kitchen that could handle a restaurant-level operation, and a wine cellar stocked with vintages most people will never taste. There's also a spacious guest house with its own private pool, because when you're Oprah, your guests don't stay in spare bedrooms. They get their own residence. The entrance hall, the first thing you see when you walk in, features antique tables displaying Oprah's personal photos and a custard-colored staircase that spirals to the upper floors. Oprah reportedly planned to remodel this entrance back in 2013. though whether she followed through remains a mystery since she hasn't posted updated photos. Time will tell if she kept that creamy yellow staircase or went in a different direction. The dining room, despite appearing modest compared to the rest of the house, is actually something Oprah thinks is too big. In O magazine, she mentioned wanting dinners to reflect my heart and spirit and needing the space to feel homey enough for people to feel free to ask for seconds. That tells you everything about Oprah's approach to luxury. It's not about impressing people, it's about creating environments where life actually happens. The kitchen showcases Oprah's eclectic design taste. Unlike the formal Georgian elegance dominating other rooms, the kitchen leans rustic. Chicken statues, gentle wood-colored walls, Tuscan elements behind the stove. It's warm, lived in, the kind of space where actual cooking happens rather than just photo shoots. And then there's the closet. Oh, the closet! Shelves upon shelves of shoes, cardigans, shirts, and purses create a fashion library that most department stores would envy. Everything is meticulously organized and color-coded, sitting on oak shelves bathed in warm lighting that makes it feel like a boutique studio. And of course, there's a TV for entertainment while getting dressed, because even in a closet, Oprah wants options. One of the guest rooms features floral curtains, plaid chairs, matching ottomans, and a fireplace. One of 10 throughout the home. Even the flower bouquets are coordinated to match the carefully crafted color scheme. A brass chandelier mirrors the wall decor, and guests can step directly into the garden through French doors that blur the line between indoors and out. There's even a chic couch in one hallway that Oprah admitted she's never sat on in over 10 years because the fabric was too lovely to risk getting dirty. Which is simultaneously the most relatable and most absurd thing a billionaire has ever said. But honestly, the indoor luxury is just the appetizer. The outdoor spaces are where Oprah's estate truly comes alive. The property extends far beyond the mansion, featuring various themed gardens, fruit and avocado groves, rose gardens, terraces, fountains, a swimming pool, tennis courts, and walking paths that wind through the estate like a private park. When Oprah acquired the property, it came with a structure originally designed as a rose garden pavilion. True to her vision, she transformed it into a lush botanical space filled with lilies, dahlias, daffodils, irises, and honeysuckle. The mastermind behind this garden design is renowned rose expert Dan Bifano, who's also created landscapes for Tom Ford and Barbra Streisand. So yeah, Oprah doesn't mess around when it comes to her gardens. The garden features a captivating ensemble of arches, cypresses, and sculpted hedges. One of its highlights is the ocean view granite pathways, bordered with rustic stones that lead to vantage points where Oprah can take in breathtaking sights of the Pacific Ocean and the Channel Islands. A stone fountain and outdoor dining table add to the garden's allure, creating spaces for contemplation, conversation, or just sitting in silence with a view that money truly cannot buy anywhere else. As visitors stroll the paths around the estate, they encounter an intriguing bronze statue called Grupo de Cuatro Mujeres de Pie by Mexican painter and sculptor Francisco Zúñiga. Oprah reportedly invested around $3.1 million in this single artwork, which translates to Group of 4 Standing Women, each figure representing a different stage of life. That's museum-level art sitting casually in her garden. In a nod to her Mississippi roots and her grandmother's influence, Oprah named one of her flower paths Hallelujah Lane, lined with white hydrangeas reminiscent of the bush that sat in front of her grandmother's porch. She's quoted saying, "All I had was the hydrangea bush that was in front of my grandmother's porch," connecting her current billion-dollar empire back to the humblest beginnings imaginable. There's also a tea house designed by interior designer Ellie Coleman, a cozy haven with green wicker armchairs and dark wooden furniture where Oprah meditates, reads, and enjoys tea. Notably, there's no TV allowed and no business meetings permitted in this serene retreat. Oprah explains, "I needed to restore myself, treating the tea house as sacred space for mental and spiritual rejuvenation." The estate also features a koi pond bordered by moss-covered hills and rocks with water lilies blooming on one side, and an expansive pool with picturesque turquoise water that looks like it belongs at a 5-star resort. After investing nearly $29 million in the additional equestrian property, Oprah became the proud owner of a modern horse barn equipped with sturdy stalls and all the essentials for raising and caring for horses, adding yet another dimension to her Montecito kingdom. In an interview with Vogue, Oprah shared that her favorite pastime is simply sitting on the porch and doing nothing. She considers it a guilty pleasure and mentions she can go weeks without turning on the TV, which is ironic given she built her empire through television. The Promised Land isn't just a house. It's a curated world where every detail reflects Oprah's journey, her taste, her values, and her desire to create a space that feels both grand and deeply personal. But how did a woman born into poverty in rural Mississippi end up owning 70 acres of California's most exclusive coastal land? Let's talk about the acquisition strategy that made this empire possible. The acquisition strategy, how she built the empire. Oprah's Montecito empire wasn't built in a day. It was carefully, strategically assembled over 2 decades through calculated purchases that reveal a business mind most people don't associate with talk show hosts. It all started in 2001 when Oprah purchased the original Promised Land estate. Reports suggest she paid around $50 million for the 42-acre property, which at the time was one of the most expensive residential real estate transactions in the area. Critics thought she overpaid. The market thought differently. That property alone is now estimated to be worth $90 million to $100 million, nearly doubling in value over 20-plus years. But Oprah did something most celebrities don't do. She sat on it. For 15 years, she didn't flip it, didn't sell off parcels, didn't try to capitalize on quick gains. She lived there, improved it, and waited for the right opportunities to expand. In December 2016, opportunity knocked when an adjacent equestrian estate hit the market. Oprah paid $28.85 million and absorbed it into her holdings, adding horse facilities, additional acreage, and, most importantly, control over who could build next to her. That's not just buying a house. That's buying privacy and power. Then in October 2019, actor Jeff Bridges decided to sell his 4-acre Montecito estate, which happened to sit right next to Oprah's 2016 purchase. She paid $6.85 million and added it to the collection. Some real estate analysts speculated she overpaid for the Bridges property based purely on square footage, but they missed the point. Oprah wasn't buying a house, she was buying adjacency, control. The ability to ensure no one builds a tacky McMansion or loud party house next to her sanctuary. When you add up the publicly known purchases, $50 million, estimated, plus $28.85 million, plus $6.85 million, you're looking at roughly $85 million to $90 million invested over 20 years. Current estimates place the combined value well above $100 million, with some suggesting it could be closer to $150 million, given Montecito's explosive real estate appreciation and the premium attached to large, contiguous land holdings. Why Montecito specifically? A few reasons. First, it's one of the most exclusive communities in California, known for privacy, natural beauty, and a laid-back coastal vibe that appeals to people who've achieved everything and just want peace. Second, the celebrity neighbor roster includes Ellen DeGeneres, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle, Gwyneth Paltrow, and other A-listers who value discretion over flash. Third, Montecito offers proximity to Los Angeles, about 90 minutes south, without the chaos, paparazzi, and traffic that make LA exhausting. But the real genius of Oprah's strategy is the compound effect. By buying adjacent parcels, she's created a private estate so large that she controls the entire environment. No surprise neighbors, no developers buying the lot next door, no compromises. Just 70 acres of land where she dictates every detail. And that approach, patient, strategic, long-term, reflects exactly how Oprah built her entire empire. Not through quick wins or lucky breaks, but through ownership, control, and relentless focus on building something that lasts. But to understand how Oprah had the resources to buy 70 acres of California coastline in the first place, you've got to rewind to where it all began. Because her story doesn't start with money. It starts with survival. From Mississippi to media mogul, the foundation. Oprah Gail Winfrey was born January 29, 1954 in rural Kosciuszko, Mississippi, into poverty so deep that she wore dresses made from potato sacks and didn't have running water or electricity for much of her childhood. Her early years were marked by instability and trauma. Raised by her grandmother, then shuffled between her mother in Milwaukee and her father in Nashville, surviving abuse that would have broken most people. But Oprah had something that transcended circumstances: intelligence, charisma, and an unshakable belief that her life was meant for something bigger. At 19, while still in college, she became the youngest and first Black female news anchor at Nashville's WLAC-TV. By her early 20s, she'd moved to Baltimore to co-anchor the evening news, where she struggled initially but found her voice when shifted to a morning talk show format. That's where the magic started. Oprah talking to people, connecting emotionally, making viewers feel seen and understood. In 1984, she moved to Chicago to host a struggling morning show called AM Chicago. Within months, she'd turned it into the highest-rated talk show in the city, beating even Phil Donahue. The show was renamed The Oprah Winfrey Show, and by 1986, it went national. Here's where Oprah made the decision that changed everything. Instead of just hosting the show, she formed her own production company, Harpo Productions, and negotiated ownership of the show itself. That meant she wasn't just an employee earning a salary. She was the owner collecting profits, controlling content, and building equity. The Oprah Winfrey Show ran for 25 years, from 1986 to 2011, becoming the highest-rated daytime talk show in American television history. At its peak, it reached 10 million viewers daily across more than 140 countries. Oprah didn't just host interviews. She shaped culture, launched careers, moved markets with her book club recommendations, and became one of the most trusted voices in America. But the show was just the foundation. Oprah leveraged that platform into the Oprah Magazine, the OWN, Oprah Winfrey Network, cable channel, book publishing deals, a partnership with Weight Watchers where she sat on the board and owned significant stock, film production, acting roles, and strategic investments that compounded her wealth year after year. By the time she ended her show in 2011, Oprah had already become a billionaire, not through one big score, but through ownership, diversification, and relentless focus on controlling her own destiny. And that business mind, that strategic thinking, that refusal to just be an employee, that's exactly what allowed her to buy 70 acres in Montecito and turn it into an empire. But Montecito is just one piece of Oprah's real estate portfolio. Let's talk about the other properties she's accumulated across the country. The broader portfolio: real estate beyond Montecito. While Montecito is the crown jewel, Oprah's real estate empire extends far beyond California's coast. In Hawaii, Oprah owns a stunning estate on the island of Maui, purchased in 2003 for a reported $50 million and later expanded. The property sits on multiple acres of oceanfront land, with views that rival even Montecito's beauty. She's reportedly invested additional millions in landscaping, construction, and creating a retreat where she can escape even California's comparatively quiet Montecito scene. In Chicago, where her show was based for decades, Oprah owned a luxury apartment in a prestigious building, but reportedly sold it after the show ended, and she shifted her base fully to California. Chicago represented her professional life. California represents her personal sanctuary. She's also owned properties in Telluride, Colorado, a mountain retreat offering skiing and altitude, and reportedly held real estate in Fisher Island, Florida, one of the wealthiest and most exclusive zip codes in America, accessible only by ferry or private boat. In Washington state, Oprah purchased a property on Orcas Island, a serene Pacific Northwest escape known for natural beauty and seclusion. And in New Jersey, she reportedly owned a property in the upscale suburb of Alpine, though details remain private. What's fascinating about Oprah's portfolio isn't just the quantity, it's the strategy. Each property serves a purpose: Montecito for daily life and entertaining, Hawaii for deep retreat, Colorado for mountain recreation, islands for complete isolation. She's not collecting properties to flex. She's curating environments that support different aspects of her life. And unlike many celebrities who buy impulsively and sell at a loss, Oprah holds long-term and benefits from appreciation. Real estate for her isn't just lifestyle, it's wealth preservation and growth, a hedge against market volatility, and a tangible expression of the empire she's built. But the properties are just visible assets. The real wealth story is how Oprah turned a talk show into $2.5 billion and became the richest black woman in America. The Wealth Machine: How $2.5 billion happens. Oprah Winfrey's current net worth sits at an estimated $2.5 billion to $3 billion depending on the source, making her not just the wealthiest black woman in America, but one of the richest self-made women on the planet. Let's break down how that happened, because the numbers tell a story most people misunderstand. At the peak of the Oprah Winfrey Show, Oprah was earning an estimated $300 million per year. Not from hosting, from owning. Because she had the foresight to negotiate ownership through Harpo Productions, she collected profits, controlled syndication deals, and built equity that compounded over 25 years. When the show ended in 2011, Oprah didn't retire, she pivoted. She launched OWN, Oprah Winfrey Network, in partnership with Discovery Inc. Though the network struggled initially, it eventually found its footing with hit shows like Queen Sugar, Greenleaf, and her interview specials. In 2020, Oprah sold most of her stake in OWN back to Discovery for a reported $70 million, while retaining some equity and creative control. In 2015, Oprah made a strategic investment in Weight Watchers, purchasing a 10% stake and joining the board. Her involvement revitalized the brand. Stock prices surged, and at its peak, Oprah's Weight Watchers holdings were worth over $400 million. Though the stock has fluctuated since, the move demonstrated her ability to influence markets simply by associating with a brand. Her book club remains one of the most powerful marketing forces in publishing. A single Oprah endorsement can turn an unknown author into a bestseller overnight, and she's leveraged that influence into publishing deals, partnerships, and content creation that generate ongoing revenue. Film and television production through Harpo continues generating income through royalties and new projects. Her magazine, Oh, the Oprah Magazine, ran for 20 years before shifting to digital only in 2020, but during its print run, it was one of the most successful celebrity-branded publications ever. Real estate appreciation has added tens of millions to her net worth. Properties purchased decades ago have doubled or tripled in value, turning homes into significant assets. And then there's just being Oprah, the speaking fees, the endorsements, the partnerships, the projects that come to her because of who she is and what her name represents. When you add it all up, show ownership, own equity, Weight Watchers gains, real estate appreciation, publishing, production, investments, you're looking at a woman who built wealth across multiple dimensions simultaneously. She didn't rely on one income stream. She created an ecosystem where money flows from dozens of sources, compounding and multiplying year after year. Oprah is the blueprint for self-made wealth. No inheritance, no venture capital, no lucky break. Just relentless work, strategic ownership, and a refusal to let anyone else control her destiny. And with all that wealth, all that success, all that global influence, how does she actually live? The lifestyle, living like Oprah. So what does Oprah's daily life actually look like when the cameras are off and the empire is humming on autopilot? It's surprisingly simple and intentional. In that Vogue interview, Oprah shared that her favorite pastime is sitting on the porch and doing nothing. She considers it a guilty pleasure and admits she can go weeks without turning on the TV. Ironic for someone who built a television empire, but deeply telling about what she actually values. Mornings at the Promised Land often start with meditation in the tea house, reading on one of the garden benches, or walking the estate's winding paths with her dogs. She's been open about her spiritual practices, journaling, gratitude exercises, moments of stillness that ground her before the day's demands hit. She's also mentioned spending time in the garden, particularly on Hallelujah Lane, surrounded by those white hydrangeas that remind her of her grandmother. There's something poetic about a woman worth billions finding peace in a flower path named after a grandmother who raised her in poverty. When she entertains, which she does often, it's intimate rather than extravagant. Dinner parties in that too-big dining room with close friends like Gayle King, Stedman Graham, her long-term partner, and a rotating circle of creatives, thought leaders, and people she genuinely enjoys. Oprah's not hosting to be seen. She's hosting because she loves good conversation, great food, and meaningful connection. Her relationship with Stedman is famously private and unconventional. They've been together since 1986, got engaged in 1992, but never married, choosing partnership over tradition. He lives his life, she lives hers, and they come together on their own terms without needing to perform a relationship for public consumption. The 70 acres give her the space to be completely herself without performance. She can walk the grounds without makeup, sit by the koi pond without an agenda, spend an afternoon in the tea house reading without anyone needing anything from her. That's the real luxury. Not the $3.1 million statue or the 14 bathrooms, but the ability to exist without being Oprah Winfrey, media mogul. Travel is selective now. She moves between Montecito, Hawaii, and occasional trips for work or specific events. But the days of constant motion are over. She's built an empire that runs without requiring her constant presence, giving her the freedom to choose how she spends her time. And here's what's most striking about Oprah's lifestyle. Despite having $2.5 billion, despite owning 70 acres in Montecito, despite being able to buy literally anything she wants, what she actually wants is simplicity, peace, time with people she loves, moments of stillness in a world that never stops moving. The Montecito estate, the Hawaiian retreat, the strategic real estate portfolio, they're not about showing off. They're about creating environments where life can be lived fully, intentionally, and on her own terms. Oprah didn't just build wealth, she built freedom. And she's using that freedom to live exactly how she wants, in spaces she's carefully curated, surrounded by beauty she's thoughtfully assembled, enjoying a life that reflects every hard-fought step from Mississippi poverty to California royalty. The Promised Land isn't just a name, it's a destination, a culmination, a physical manifestation of a promise Oprah made to herself decades ago, that she would transcend her circumstances, build something lasting, and create a life where she controlled every variable. And walking through those 70 acres, past the rose gardens and the tea house and the ocean view paths, past the $3.1 million statue and the horse barn and the hydrangea-lined Hallelujah Lane, you can feel it. Not just the luxury, but the intention. Every detail chosen, every space designed, every purchase strategic. This isn't just where Oprah lives, it's the empire she built when nobody was counting, the city she owns when everyone thought she just owned a house, the kingdom she created while the world was busy watching her show. And honestly, for a woman who started with nothing and built everything, the fact that her greatest achievement might be finding peace on 70 acres of California coastline feels exactly right. That's a wrap on Oprah Winfrey's massive Montecito estate and her overall real estate empire. Which part of her story impressed you the most? Let us know in the comments. And for more such interesting peeks into how Black wealth is prospering across the globe, take a look at Black Status.